me get another question here. What is the current research, this is from Sarah again, what is the current research regarding the efficacy of either CBD or THC or a combo in a diabetic neuropathy?
So neuropathic pain has a lot of evidence in cannabis, combo and THC alone. I'm not really aware of studies that have looked at just CBD for neuropathic pain. And again, the doses needed to achieve symptom control would probably be cost prohibitive for a lot of people. But look at the Sativex or Nabiximols trials. This is an oral spray. It's a pharmaceutical preparation of cannabis. It's about a 1-to-1 ratio. It's approved in maybe 20 some or 30 some countries right now, and there's a lot of good neuropathic pain data, randomized controlled data that shows that it's helpful. So this is a condition, a type of pain that conventional treatments are very low efficacy at treating. It doesn't respond well to conventional treatments. Amitriptyline, Cymbalta, some of these antidepressants can help a little. Some of the anti-seizure drugs like gabapentin can help with neuropathic pain. It's rarely satisfactory. When I have a patient that starts cannabis, ideal would be something similar to Nabiximols, like a 1-to-1 ratio. They are just blown away by how much better it works than the conventional pharmaceuticals that are used to treat this condition. So it's a great question, and it's nice for me to have an easy answer like, yes, this is one of the areas where cannabis has strong data that shows it's effective.
You are live, Eleanor. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Well, more or less.
We don't see you. Don't be shy.
I'm not a good oh God.
Come on, you're there you are. Hi.
Yeah, there you are.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from southern England.
Wow. Well, thanks. It's early actually, there, huh?
Some of my questions have been answered. I am older and I take so many pills, it's ridiculous. But what I did start was with cannabis, and I do want to just give you a positive one first. And I did it because I had polymyalgia rheumatica, and I had it very badly. So I had heavy steroids, and I started with 10 milligrams. I think it's milligrams. Anyway, I've got down to 3, and meanwhile I bring up the CBD oil that I'm taking. I brought it up so that I'm bringing down the cannabis, and I'm nearly at the end of that, and that was a positive thing. But earlier on, he had mentioned gabapentin, and you've just been talking about neuropathy. And I take gabapentin, and I find it absolutely useless. But I feel there's a clash somewhere, because my neuropathy, it can be very bad at the moment, and I don't quite know if I'm taking too much cannabis now, or I really don't know what I'm doing, because I can find nowhere where I can go and talk to somebody about it, which I would rather do. I'm an old lady, and it would be nice to talk to somebody. So it's lovely talking to you, and thank you for seeing me.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. So what I heard is that you use CBD oil, you were able to use that to reduce your prednisone. Is that right? By about 2/3?
Yes.
And that's beautiful. And I'm not sure what dose of CBD oil you used for that purpose, but I would say that whatever dose you use that worked for that is the dose it's not just helping you reduce your prednisone, it's actually treating your condition. And so that would be a dose to stay on. And if you got off the prednisone completely, or a lot of people in your situation may have trouble finishing getting off it, like you may get down to 2 milligrams or 1 milligram and then have some trouble. If you were my patient here in Maine, I would be very comfortable just cranking that CBD dose up. It's got the anti-inflammatory and the anti-pain effects that would help you potentially help you with the cannabis. I strangely just heard a little ding. I'm sorry. I gotta just check something. No one should be in the office right now. I'll be right back. I think it might have been here.
I thought he was at home. We don't want anything to happen to him.
Do you think he's disappeared to the toilet?
It was a ding,
Oh, no,
and
that was a big trick.
it's an authorized person in the office. It's my older brother who works with me here. So
Right.
so getting back to your question about gabapentin, I mean, I smiled because I've heard so many people say they think it does absolutely nothing. It actually can be helpful for a lot of people, but it's not terribly helpful for many. And cannabis can usually knock its socks off, especially if there's THC involved. Even with just CBD, again, sometimes cranking the dose is important, but gabapentin, you cannot stop abruptly. You have to taper off that very slowly. There's dangerous and very unpleasant side effects from abruptly stopping it.
I will be careful about that. Well, I have been careful about the prednisolone as well. I have not mentioned anything to my doctor, which I suppose is a bit naughty, but I really...
That is naughty. Shame on you. And I don't really mean that, because I don't know about your relationship with your doctor, but think about how, and by your doctor, you probably mean your rheumatologist. How many other people that are on prednisone?
Oh, my rheumatologist, excuse me interrupting you. I went to a rheumatologist consultant, and I did tell her, and she said, oh, don't take it. And I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, as you know, it's very unusual for people with polymyalgia rheumatica to be able to cut their prednisone down by 2/3 and have improved symptoms.
Yes.
Very unusual. This should be getting the attention of your doctors. They should be saying, what is she doing that my other patients aren't doing? And I would hope that you provide them with the answer.
Well, I will when I get the chance. It's quite difficult here to get a doctor sometimes. Believe it or not, we're having difficulties.
I do believe that our country isn't the only one with a broken healthcare system.
But I do think I listened to the first Sacred Planet series, and I just thought it was wonderful, and it's wonderful hearing you talk about it, and thank you, because there's other people wanting to.
You're welcome. Great questions. Thank you, too.
Thank you, dear. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Eleanor. And actually, Eleanor, we're in the process of filming season 2 as we speak, and Dustin is going to be in that as well.
Oh, right.
So it'll be coming out in June.
Okay, I'll have bags because it's 3:30 in the morning here.
I know. 3:23 to be exact.
Oh, okay.
So you got 7 more minutes, but anyway.
By the
Eleanor,
way, you've lost weight.
I've lost weight?
You look as if you have.
I have.
You look very well.
Thank you very much.
Bless you.
Bless you too, Eleanor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, send me some cookies. Some biscuits and tea.
Oh, a parsley tea I'll send you.
Okay.
I'd rather it was wine.
Anyway, well, I send you a big kiss.
Thank you.
Now get some sleep.
Okay, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Thanks, Eleanor.
Night, night.
Good night to you. You know, this is what I love. I love what we do. I mean, this isn't work.
This is fun.
This is fun.
So fun.
This is fun. So,
and I want to give a thanks to, I talked to my mom. I think she's probably listening now. And
good.
If you wanted to jump on, Mom, that'd be great. She told, after work, I talked to her. She said, Dustin, go lay down and take a nap and take care of yourself before the webinar tonight. And I'm so glad I listened to her instead of plowing through my work, because I'm really feeling good right now.
Well, Mom, if you want to come on, we'd love to have you. I'm a big fan of moms. And Dustin, if you want to give your mom a shout out, please do.
Yeah, that's Karen Sulak. She's in Chicago, and she's great. I've learned so much from her, and Mom, I really appreciate everything. As you know, you're great.
So Karen, we love your son. You did a great job. So thank you. And so again, if you're up, have her text you, and I'll look for her name up here as well. So let me see. Seems like we've only been getting females on, and so let me see if George, you're on. See if George is on. George, can you hear us?
I can, but I don't have video.
You don't have video. Okay, so you are on. It shows you, but go for it. You're on with Dr. Dustin Sulak.
I didn't even want to do that.
You don't want to do that? Want me to yank you off?
No, but that's all right. I have a quick question. When I was young, I severed and totally obliterated the olfactory nerve in my nose, behind my nose. And I'm wondering if these aromas and herbs and terpenes are still going to affect me without having a sense of smell.
Great question. Yes, you'll get them into your bloodstream still. I mean, I think that there's a part of their neurologic effect that you may be missing out on. And, it's really complex. As you know, the olfactory nerve is highly involved in how we make memories. And so I think after all these years, it's likely that your brain has found some new ways to deal with that. But there's physiologic effects that aren't related to the olfactory effects that you could absolutely achieve.
Okay, great. I was just always thinking I'd be wasting my time because, I mean, I literally can put my face in gasoline and I can't tell it's there. So, I mean, so I didn't think I'd get anything from the good stuff either.
Yeah, no, I would recommend putting your face in things that other people tell you smell good. You'll probably do a good job with that.
All right, I like it. Thank you.
You got it.
Hope you have good friends too. So great, George. Thanks for being on, huh?
Thank you.
Have a good evening. And
You
where are you
too.
calling it? Where are you calling in from?
Whitehall, New York. Upstate New York.
Upstate.
Yeah, to
Past
be-
past Cortland.
Definitely different than New York City.
Yeah.
We're at the same breed up here.
Gotcha. Are you up past Cortland?
Hour above Albany.
Above Albany.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being with us, huh?
Yeah. Thanks for answering my question. That's
Have
great.
a good
Thank you,
evening.
guys.
Have a good evening.
Next.
Yep. Yeah, always trust it. I should say always trust your friends. Maybe not trust your friends. Here, smell this, George. It smells delicious. So, let me try another one here. And did Mom get on yet or not?
I don't know. I expect her to wave her hand to you. I
Okay.
haven't seen anything on my cell here.
Well, let me see what we have here. Look at that, Jill. Hi, Jill. You're live.
Oh my gosh, hi.
How are you doing?
Hi, Jill.
I'm doing excellent.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm in rural Georgia right now, but I'm a native
Georgia.
New Yorker,
Uh-huh.
9/11 survivor, and I have a lot of health-related issues to that I took long-term high-dosage prednisone, rotted out all my teeth.
Mhm.
I have only 4 teeth left on top. It eroded the bones in my lower back and my joints. I have a lot of pain in there. I had 2 sinus surgeries. They punctured the cribriform plate, and I developed a CSF leak through my nose. And there was a wound that never healed that has now developed into a big hole in my septum.
Mhm.
Cataracts, I mean, prednisone just destroyed me. And I weaned myself off of it in 2010 and started eating prickly pear cactus. And I won't say what my doctor called me, but it was kind of rude. And she said, "You're taking your life in your hands." I said, "You're absolutely right."
After the medical system did all of this to you.
Exactly. 2.5 years later, she listened to my chest and said, "There's no rills, no asthma, no nothing. What are you doing?" And I said, "I told you what I'm doing. I'm eating prickly pear cactus every day and no processed foods, and I changed my diet up somewhat. But I still have all these things are accumulating there. What's the word I'm looking for? They've all been exacerbated by time. And I have cataracts now too from the steroids. So my question is, Georgia is not a legal state. My sister's up in New York. Gave a previous question about her. She was on opiates, severe opiates, and I had her taking a 1-to-1 ratio, 2.5 milligrams each of THC and CBD, and she was just about weaned off the opiates, and she just couldn't stand the pain. What can she do? What can we do to help her out with her pain? I'm more concerned about her than I am about myself, honestly.
Sure. Well, it sounds like she wasn't taking enough, probably. I think that getting off opiates entirely is a great strategy for a lot of people. I don't think black and white about this. A combination of low-dose opiates with cannabis can be very safe and sustainable and effective for some people. I think it's great to get off, but I wouldn't beat herself up about the fact that the combination treatment is more sustainable and very effective. These are, 2 plants two plants that Mother Nature gave us, the opium poppy and the cannabis plant, and they really work well together. But 2.5 milligrams of each is not usually enough for people to completely get off. So she would need to, if she were here in Maine, I would want her not to force an opioid taper until she had better symptom control. Basically, use the cannabis to get things under control and then come off the opioids slowly. And rarely, but certainly sometimes, people that don't do well with the low dose approach to replacing opioids, for one reason or another, they do well with a very high dose approach. And I know the New York Medical Cannabis Program is not very conducive to that.
I didn't think so, but she was very resistant. So I was glad that she tried anything.
Yep, send her to healer.com. We have a whole section on opioids there that should be really helpful for her.
Absolutely will. The other question I have is, I've seen a lot about juicing the live plant. And where I live, cultivation is illegal as everything else is. What kind of alternatives do I have? I mean, I've asked everybody for seeds, I'm going to be honest. And if I think back to the bags of seeds I used to throw away in the 70s, I could kill myself now. But nobody has seeds anyway. I mean, I have a place where I would grow it a little bit, but
yeah.
what
Well,
are the
thanks for
alternatives?
throwing that out there. Yeah, juicing can be effective for a lot of people. It's rarely practical or sustainable. From what I can tell from my clinical experience and from the literature, is that the acidic cannabinoids are extremely powerful, maybe more powerful than the heated or neutral cannabinoids. And for the listeners that are new to these terms, basically, if you walk up to a growing cannabis plant and pick a flower off and eat it, you're getting very, very low amounts of THC. It'll mostly be THCA. The A stands for acid. Very distinct physiologic properties in the body.
It activates it.
Exactly. So non-psychoactive. But let me finish. Let me answer the question.
Okay.
So juicing would be a one way to get like relatively high doses of the THCA. I don't think that's necessary. What I would recommend for you is go to your flowering plants. And to answer the seed question, it's not legal, but I have a lot of patients in Maine that do this. They order seeds, they come in the mail, they plant them. Canada, Europe, other places. I mean, it's happening.
Okay.
I would just encourage you to walk up to the plant, pick a very small bud, put it in your mouth, chew it up, maybe put it between your lip and your cheek for a little while, and just or your gum in your cheek, and just let it absorb that way. I think there's strong anti-inflammatory properties and other metabolic and pain properties with the THCA. I've been very impressed with it.
Okay, I have another question. I've been using hemp seeds that I get at Costco, but I find that when I put them in salads, but when I put them in warm cereal, hot cereal, I seem to feel a little bit better. I don't know if that's my imagination or because I know that when you heat up, I don't know.
Do they have, if you buy them at Costco, they probably don't have the hull, right?
They're hulled. Is the hull where the magic happens?
I'd be surprised if you're getting any cannabis. I mean, you know, I love being surprised by this plant, and you may have just discovered that heated hemp seeds have some super health benefit. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. We know that they're such a high quality food, right? So it's a perfect protein, meaning all the essential amino acids that our body needs, both the omega-3 and omega-6, essential fatty acids, very low carb. I mean, it's like a perfect food.
All right, so it's good on one hand. Like I said, I don't know if it's my imagination or if I want it to happen. I just want help. My knees are so bad right now. I got injured on 9/11 and afterwards, and I'm a hot mess, and I want to just improve my health. I was a very healthy 50-year-old when 9/11 happened. I ran, I danced, I biked, I ran circles around people, and now I want to get better. So, and I'm limited where I live. Do I have to move to do what I need, or I want alternatives?
You got to move or you got to break the law, it sounds like, and that's a terrible place to be. I don't envy being in your position. I'm sorry. But what I love is your open-mindedness and determination. You believe in your own health, and please keep that up.
You have to be your own best health advocate, and I market healthcare to people. So I share the good stuff with everybody. What they do with it is their own, but You got to put it out there. And you guys are awesome. I wish I knew you. My dad lived in Maine, in Lyman, Swan Pond, just below Portland. And he's been gone for a while now, but I wish I knew about you when we used to go up and visit him, because I would be a patient.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your questions.
And John, thank you so much. This has been awesome, very educational, and I share the information with everyone.
Thank you, Jill. Back to you in Georgia. What a lot of patients do is that they will, instead of moving and breaking the law right out of the gate, they'll spend a long weekend in a legal state, obtain the product. Colorado's probably the easiest for you, and spend a long weekend there if you can, or a week, and see if this medicine works. And they do sell THCA there that you can try, and then make your decision that way. But
that's a thought.
That's my recommendation.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
God bless you, and thanks for being on with us, huh?
Many blessings to you all as well.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Too.
Bye. Thanks, Dustin. Here's one, and I'm trying to get them all here. So, Dustin, hope you're okay till midnight. No. So here's Prasad. Hey, Prasad, I wonder if there are any applications for cannabis for fatty liver, candida, and arthritis.
Yes, great question. Fatty liver, candida, and arthritis. Let's start with fatty liver. Cannabis would likely help with that. And that could be the THC, that could be the CBD, probably both. I say that because cannabis tends to restore a disrupted metabolism, including metabolism that's related to fat storage. You should know that fatty liver is a condition that can heal itself very quickly when the right circumstances are there. So I think that the animal literature supports that you could use cannabis for this purpose. And I would certainly use CBD along with the THC, because CBD has antifibrotic properties in the liver. This means it prevents the scarring. One thing that happens with fatty liver is things get inflamed, and then to repair that inflammation, you get scarring. Well, when that cycle turns over again and again, that excessive scarring eventually leads to cirrhosis, liver failure, death. It's a slow process. And so, you've probably addressed, like, I doubt that you're on the show and asking the question, wondering what to do about fatty liver that's caused by, like, chronic alcohol use, right? The answer is stop using alcohol. And if it's caused by, like, super high carbohydrate intake combined with some metabolic disruption, like, stop eating the carbs. That's where we start. But there are some people that have fatty liver disease without a clear trigger or cause, and I do think that cannabis could be helpful. Candida is an interesting question. There's not a lot of evidence, but there's some animal data. Not much of it's published, but I saw it at ICRS, the International Cannabinoid Research Society, this past June. There was two posters on candida in mouse models, and it looked like cannabis made the situation worse for candida infections. Cannabis has some antimicrobial properties, can enhance the activity of other antibiotics, and that's the THC that does it. But there may be something that makes candida worse or makes people more susceptible to candida. So it's a small signal right now, but I'm paying attention to it, and I would use with some caution, or maybe with some additional anti-yeast. And then the third part was, what was it, neuropathic pain?
You know what? I'm flipping down to other questions here. Sorry.
That's okay. Well, if it is that we've already covered neuropathic pain and joint pain. I mean, pain is the one condition that cannabis has the very most evidence to be helpful for.
Here's one from Jen. For those without insurance or doctors who don't want to get involved with cannabis, does smoking cannabis have the same healing effects as oil?
So, it's similar but distinct. I think with cannabis, it's great to have an individual approach. So inhaling, whether it's smoke or vapor, has its benefits. For example, it's very rapid onset. So if you have a condition that you need to respond to quickly, that's the best way to do it. It's also short acting. So if you have a chronic condition that's bothering you all day, you don't want to rely solely on inhaled cannabis, because it's going to wear off. And it's much better to prevent symptoms than to chase them around with inhalation. So it's really an individualized approach. I think we've covered a lot of this on the Sacred Plan, and it's certainly covered on healer.com. In general, for most chronic conditions, I have my patients using oral mucosal, meaning absorbed through the blood vessels in the mouth, for baseline dosing 3 to 4 times daily, and then they reserve inhaled cannabis for things like trouble with sleep onset. That means trouble with falling asleep, breakthrough symptoms like almost having an anxiety attack or a PTSD flashback, or a migraine is about to start and they want to abort it, for things like that. Cravings, if they have problems with addiction and they want to address the cravings, that's where inhaled cannabis really shines.
Have you helped anyone with severe psoriatic arthritis, and what were the results you received with cannabis? I deal with swollen joints and pain, but don't actually have any skin issues.
Yeah, I've seen lots of psoriatic arthritis, and I've seen good results in my patients with cannabis. I mean, it's a kind of a straightforward answer, but with inflammatory and painful conditions, regardless of the diagnosis, cannabis is almost always useful when it's used appropriately. It sounds like a broad statement. It's true. I rarely see a patient with an inflammatory and painful condition that doesn't get some benefit from cannabis.
Great. And that was from April. So thank you, April, for your question. And let me see, we hear Kimberly.
Oh, hello.
How,
I was like, what is
get off
my
the couch. It's your turn.
Actually, I'm laying down because
Well,
I just come back from
where are you calling in
the
from?
east side. Florida.
Florida. We'll be down there. Dustin and I will be actually down in Orlando end of May, right, Dustin?
Oh my God. When, and where?
End of May in Orlando, and we'll be speaking at the Best Answer for Cancer event. And so
Oh, that's cool.
this year it'll be cancer, cannabis, and ketogenic. So
We're getting there down here. We're getting there very slowly.
Well,
I just got my medical card.
Well, thank you for your support, and I know you're late over there too. So you and Dustin are on the same time zone. So no wonder you were lying down, huh?
Yeah, I've been running today. I've got a lot going on. So when I see my cannabis doctor, not this past week, he basically called me an overachiever.
Yeah.
I just DC'd all my opiates, the benzos, barbiturates, all went. I've been off every bit of them for probably 21 days now.
Good.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Thank you, Doc. I did my homework, and yes, I'm going to register for your page. As soon as I can get a donation, I will be on your site checking everything out.
Oh, don't worry about it though. It's all free. You can donate at any time. We always love donations with Healer, but we don't want that to prohibit anyone from accessing this information that is completely out there for free.
Well, yeah, I'm a veteran, so I'm a prior service Marine, so all my health care goes through there, so you know where I'm at with this.
Got
it. They all know, they're aware, and they have to accept it for what it is because there were side effects from my meds, so they had to go.
If they're not thrilled that you're off those medications, then you're seeing the wrong people. That's really impressive what you've done.
Well, my stand-in doctor, I did nursing for years. I have a lot of background in the medical field. So my doctor was like, oh, you're going to keep checking your labs? I'm like, yeah, because nobody had noticed my B12 was like astronomically high. And I'm like, and then she's like, hush, hush. I'm like, yeah. She wants me to manage my own care. Fine, I will do it. But I'm with the dosing. Okay, so since I haven't been in the dispensary yet, I have rheumatoid ankylosing spondylitis, and I also have some complicated GI. I've had a hepaticoangiotomy with the NRU-Y, and there's a good possibility there might be a stricture in there. So, and everybody has the attitude of, I'm not going to touch it. And after the last scope I have the same attitude of, we're done, nobody's going to touch it. Because I ran long story. Doctor lost somebody on the table that day when head scopes me. Shouldn't have been. So we're going natural 100%. We're leaving everything alone. Super highly modified diet, but I do have a lot of pain, a lot of joint destruction in my peripherals, in my spine. I'm a mess. So I've been making a tea, a tisane. It
A
seems to be
cannabis tea with the flower?
yes.
Great,
Yes.
great. So that's the THCA again, which we brought up earlier. And the THCA is incredible, even in low doses. You put a little flour in a cup and pour hot water over it, or you could simmer it for 5 or 15 minutes, and that's a powerful medicine. You have to drink it pretty quickly after you make it. You know, within a short amount of time, maybe an hour or so, it'll start to precipitate out of the water. But that's primarily THCA that you're getting from the tea, which is perfect for you because it's got this anti-inflammatory effect. And that's for the rest of the listeners, the ankylosing spondylitis typically has a genetic component, and it produces inflammation that deteriorates the joints, especially in the spine, but elsewhere in the body. And so I think that would be very, I'm impressed that you got off of benzos, opioids, and barbiturates without the use of THC, because that's usually.
No, it's
Oh,
in
you got
there.
it. You got it. Okay, you got it. Okay,
Well,
so we got.
I'll tell
So
you what
all
I do.
Sure.
I decarb it by adding coconut oil so it has a carrier. So I low boil it at about medium to medium low, not to go over 245 degrees so I don't damage the other delicate components in the plant.
Mm-hmm.
And that
For how long?
I usually do 45 minutes to 2 hours.
Okay, so at that time range at 245 degrees Fahrenheit, you're getting a partial decarboxylation, right?
Yes.
And what you're going to end up with is some THC and some THCA, maybe half and half. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
That's what I'm doing. But I'm wanting the convenience because I've been sick and I haven't been working because I have been so sick. And I'm trying to get myself built back up and get my strength. But I'm like eager to get in the dispensary because I like an indica vape pen at night because, I hurt a lot and it knocks me out. But during the day, I need to be functionable at the sweet level. You know what I'm saying? Where I have my pain under control, yet my head's not floating too much.
Sure, you can totally do that. I think the biggest asset you have is that it sounds like you have self-awareness and body awareness. And so you'll find out, just like we talked about earlier, there's precision dosing, whether you're just working with THC or a combination of CBD and THC, which would produce a wider therapeutic window. With precision dosing, you can absolutely get there. And for a lot of people, it's, 1/3 to 1/2 of their nighttime dose they can take in the morning without impairment or side effects and with still some pretty good symptom control. So I encourage you to do that. I want to mention something about Florida. For the rest of the listeners, Florida has a restrictive system where
we do.
flour, you can't buy flour yet. Right, my friend Joe Redner. I don't know if I just want to bring this up because there was an announcement yesterday in a court case with a guy named Joe Redner, who's been a civil libertarian, who's sued the state of Florida several times in his career for things that he doesn't like. A really good guy and a character. He won a case. I was an expert witness in the case. He basically sued the state, telling them it was unconstitutional for them to prohibit him from growing his own plants. And the judge awarded in favor of Joe and said that the state of Florida was violating the Constitution by prohibiting him from growing his own plants. So now everyone else in Florida that wants to grow their own plants has a basis for that. It doesn't mean it's legal for them. They would still have to sue the state themselves, and Joe's case is being appealed. But great progress in Florida. Several dispensaries have sued the state, saying that they should be able to sell flour to patients. And so I think Florida's coming along. And thank you, Joe, for the work you've done.
We don't have a dispensary in Brevard County yet, but we do up in Volusia, and of course we do over in Orange County, Orlando. They have a couple too. They have Knox over there. So I think they are going to come around real soon.
Well, you seem really well prepared and informed to take this into your own hands and have success with it. I wish you all the best, and thanks for your service.
She's a Marine, that's why.
Yeah, a Marine and a nurse. Watch out.
Huh?
Yeah, I was a machine gun repairman in the Marine Corps too.
Okay.
Don't mess with her, huh?
That's an ironic turn, though, from weapons of mass destruction to healing.
To healing.
Okay. They balance each other out. That's beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah,
Well,
so.
Kimberly, thank you very
Bye,
much,
guys.
and I appreciate your support. And we'll see you soon. We'll see you in Florida.
Right? And the
All right.
weather's getting good.
I know, huh?
Right?
Sleep well. Don't fall. We still have a little time to go, so don't fall asleep on us.
Oh, I won't. I thought I missed it. I
No.
was like, no.
So when you were there, what did it make a sound when you were live, or how did you know that you were on?
My window came up.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
Because I use Zoom a lot,
Yep.
I'm familiar with it. So I was like,
Gotcha.
hey, why's my window coming up?
Yep. So.
So John,
popped up.
I see one on the chat that I just want to address real quick. I have candida. I'm taking CBD and THC. Does that mean I should quit taking the oil? No, it doesn't mean that. I think that if you have candida, it would be good to pay attention to your candida symptoms. For women, sometimes it's easier to notice if the symptoms are getting better or worse than men, but men can also notice based on some of their stool habits and maybe skin changes around the pelvis. But if you notice that the cannabis is making the candida worse while helping some other problem, then you've got a couple options. You can add something in that fights the candida so that, I'm not a big fan of using one medication to treat the side effects of another medication, but that's a fine strategy if the cannabis is really helping you with something. I would not suggest trying to use cannabis to treat candida directly, but there's a lot of natural candida remedies based on essential oils and extracts of citrus seeds and, things like that you could add that would probably be safe to make it more tolerable. So listen to your body. If you feel like cannabis is making candida worse, you could chime in on that, on the chat. It's not something that I've heard from many of my patients. I don't know that it happens in people who use cannabis at therapeutic doses. I know that it happened to a handful of laboratory rodents.
Here's one from over across the pond here. This is Matt Hughes. Hey, Matt. Due to living in the UK with our current restrictive laws, I'm struggling to pursue alternative products to replace opioids for chronic pain management. Where would you suggest I start? I've even thought about traveling to the Netherlands or other countries, and that's Matt from the UK.
Natural products to replace opioids for chronic pain. Cannabis is top of my list. There's other natural products. Kratom, which is a herb from Thailand, is very effective at helping with that. It has opioid qualities and probably does have some abuse liability, but less so than the synthetic opioids. Another one is something called DLPA. That's a type of phenylalanine that can likely boost our levels of our endogenous opioids, the endorphins. So those are top three on my list.
Great, thank you. And so we have, hi Helma. Let me unmute you there 1 second. Where are you? Unmute. Oop. Unmute. There you are. Hi Helma.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm just right. How are you?
Great to see you. Where are you calling in from?
Florida.
Another Floridian.
Yeah.
Well, so you're late like Dustin, so we're keeping you up. So
oh no, I'm always up late.
So what question do you have for Dr. Dustin Sulak?
I'm dealing with a fibroid tumor, and I wonder if cannabis has any benefits for that.
Okay, great question. So certainly helpful with pain. And if pain is a part of this, then cannabis is probably one of your safest options. Could cannabis shrink the tumor or halt the growth of the tumor? That's absolutely possible. There's different types of connective tissue tumors in animal studies that have responded to cannabis. Fibroid tumors typically hormone sensitive. There's other hormone sensitive tumors that have responded to cannabis in these preclinical studies. And some of that translates to human patients like yourself, and some of it doesn't. So I think you could start by using cannabis. Someone in your situation could start by using cannabis to treat pain and see if it seems to have a beneficial effect on the course of the tumor. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I've actually been pointed towards iodine as, flooding the system with iodine.
I love iodine. It's so underused. It used to be used all the time in medicine. It's great for anyone with an estrogen dominant or estrogen sensitive problem. A lot of women that are iodine deficient can feel this by their breast texture. And so it becomes much smoother and softer when iodine is repleted. And so it's this great feedback mechanism so you can know how your body's doing on its iodine status. And that also has to do with the estrogen sensitivity. So I think that's one great natural approach.
Yep. And then one more question that I also wrote in. I joined your lecture here late, so I don't know if it's been addressed already. In the series where you, John, where you interviewed Len.
Yep.
I love what he offers, where we can send in a test and be sort of matched with an appropriate cannabis plant for our system, our physiology, since it's so specific to each person, right?
Yes.
Oh, did I get that right?
You did, and I spent the day with him because we're in the process of filming the Sacred Plant season 2 right now, and so I'm down in Southern California right now, and I interviewed him. So yes.
Okay, so I just love that is a possibility. However, when you all are suggesting blends for people, if we don't know what would work best for us, what do we reach for?
He's going off his DNA test, and so I asked him that question today. And first he switched companies, so he left the company that was in season 1, and so he is now at EndoCannaHealth.com.
Okay.
And they're in the process of putting out another product, but in the time being, you can send over your Ancestry.com DNA testing or the 23andMe, and it takes 2 weeks to come back, and it will come back. That's one question I asked him. I said, I asked him both sides, does it work? One, and I said, we had a lot of people that were kind of skeptical if does this work, and he had great answers for both. And so, I know people that have had, that used it. I mentioned to him today, when Corinne was going through what she went through, he offered his services, but my plate was full to bring on anything else. And so I did not do that with Corinne. I wouldn't change anything I did with Corinne. But excuse me.
It's all right, Jen. I'll chime in a little bit here. Helma, I think that the different strains and the different blends and all of this, for the viewers that remember the old radio where you have the big tuning knob and the fine tuning knob, like that's all the fine tuning in my opinion for most patients, and that's an important thing to get like real clarity on the radio. But you start with the big tuning knob, which is the dosage. How many milligrams of the various active constituents are you getting? And so you start there, and then once you know your kind of ideal milligram range, you can start playing around with different formulations, blends, strains, and so forth. As far as DNA testing that can tell us what type of cannabis is useful for us, I'm open-minded. I believe that it's possible. I think especially with a huge amount of data based on people's outcomes using various products of cannabis with well-known potencies of the various active constituents. So if we have the outcomes, if we have good science on what's in the products that are tied to those outcomes, the exact dosages that people are using with those outcomes, and we pair that with their genetic information, we have a huge database of it, we could analyze that. I do think there could be some useful information. I am highly suspicious of anything that purports to do that currently until it's proven to me.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Helma, and thank you for your support, and thanks for being on and trusting us as well.
I've learned so much from you, John.
Yep.
And on your program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll see you down in Florida as well.
Good.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a good evening as well. Thanks, Helma. Thanks, Dustin. Here's one here. There's no name, but I started late and don't know if this was covered. Sorry. How might CBD oil help with folks with peripheral neuropathy, possibly cause it too much pyridoxine B6?
The question is B6 causing the neuropathy?
But how might CBD oil help with folks, possibly caused by too much? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. B6 toxicity is real for some people, and I wonder how you got into that situation. But CBD is neuroprotective in general, so it helps with all sorts of disorders where the nerves are sick or ailing because of some toxin, whether it's too much of B6 or and then a number of other things that can make the nerves sick. So CBD is nerve stabilizing, neuroprotective. It promotes the healing of the nerves, and then it also relieves pain. But again, we've said this so many times today, if you're only using CBD to treat neuropathic pain, it's likely you're going to need a whole lot of it, potentially an amount that's cost prohibitive. And so my recommendation for patients with neuropathic pain that I see here, of course, is to use a combination of THC and CBD.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'm going to keep on going right down here. Since our topic is anxiety, depression, insomnia, can you, I know it's a long one here, but actually, can you talk about how to use cannabis for depression? And that's Anne.
Yeah, how to use cannabis for depression. So I think that on its own, cannabis can alleviate mood. I think that the most important way to use cannabis for depression is to pair it with something that is therapeutic. It's something non-pharmacologic, meaning use cannabis and do some breathing exercises. Use cannabis and take a walk in nature. Use cannabis and have a different interaction with your partner or your lover. That's really it. Treatments for depression don't come in the form of something that you can put in your mouth. And when I say treatments, things that really change, right? When we're talking about depression and healing depression, we're not just talking about the symptoms feeling better for 2 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours or a day. Healing means a change in the patterns of thought, the patterns of physiology, the patterns of behavior. And cannabis can improve neuroplasticity. So actually allow these new connections to be made in the brain to support those changes of pattern, and also to disengage people from their current cycle of whatever those repetitive patterns are that's maintaining the depression. So you get this disengagement. Suddenly there's a new perspective on life, new perspective on challenges, some creative solutions, and enhanced neuroplasticity. So please use cannabis to empower some other non-pharmacologic therapies for depression. There's so many good ones out there. Some things that are free that you can learn online, like emotional freedom technique. It's tapping on acupuncture points.
Yep.
It's like a reset button on the emotions. That's one that I encourage people to check out. Exercise is probably the single best thing you can do for depression. Stop eating crap is a big one. People are, a lot of people are surprised by how much their diet can influence depression. There's now a lot of evidence that gut bacteria, probiotics, and so forth can really change our mental state. It's amazing the way the bacteria and other microorganisms that live in our body influence our psyche. We talked about candida a lot tonight. Candida can cause a person to crave sugar, and that can make them eat sugar that then feeds the candida. These things can really hijack our nervous system and our consciousness, and cannabis is a great way to disengage from that, get perspective, and try something new.
Gotcha. And I'm a big fan, like you said, Dustin, getting out in nature, doing something different. Your breathe, body, and mood exercises are always great with that. Here's a question that's coming in here from California as well. Can you ask how it can be used with teenagers who have depression, anxiety?
Yeah, great question. So I often see this as a opportunity for harm reduction, because a lot of teenagers are using cannabis. A lot of them are using it to actually help them feel better, even though they don't have medical supervision or real, any good clinical advice on how to do this. They use it, they feel better, they want to keep using it. Sometimes it's because as human beings, most of us have a natural drive towards experiencing altered states of consciousness. That's very normal. But a lot of people just want to feel better. So when I approach a teenage patient with a mental health disorder, again, number one rule is we're not going to pretend to cure anything with a plant or a drug or any of that stuff. We would use that to support a more holistic, transformative process. But what do I do with teenagers? I have them use the lowest effective dose. I have them move away from inhaled cannabis and move towards a oral mucosal route that's precision controlled. I like to get a dose that helps with the symptoms, that doesn't cause impairment or side effects, because they're going to school and they need to be building relationships and things. It's not good for them to be stoned all the time. And I validate and honor the experience that teenagers have when they smoke cannabis and they have the spiritual experience that's really meaningful to them. I think there's a place for it. And I think if we didn't have 80 years of prohibition, then we would have adult responsible use of cannabis that's modeled for our teenagers, and in their teens they would start to get an idea, wow, this is what healthy cannabis looks like. It looks like not being stoned all the day and taking bong rips until I can't do anything. It looks like in a social setting having a puff or two and feeling more happy. It looks like smoking a little cannabis or vaporizing a little cannabis and sitting down to meditate, or going to walk in nature or exercise, or paint, make a painting or something like that. That's what it would look like. And I would appreciate if teenagers were exposed to this pattern, and maybe even tied to some coming of age process like we often have with alcohol. It's a terrible example, actually. Like, go out on your 21st birthday and get totally wasted is not a good thing to do, right? It's, but sometimes I think that would be great. Now, my mom, maybe she's still listening. When I was 15, she said, look, if you're going to try smoking marijuana, I'd love for you to try it with me, right? And I thought, oh, yeah, right. Probably less than a month later, I'm in a parking lot with a bunch of my friends in the middle of the night, passing a bowl around, and police pull in, and and I always kind of regret missing that opportunity to do that with my mom. And so I thank her for offering that to me, and I think that that's what should happen. I want to put a little plug for books that talk about cannabis for kids. I think that that's really useful. There's one that I really like from Maine that is, wow, for some reason in my mind, oh yes, it's called The Medicine Plants, not the Sacred Plant, The Medicine Plant. It's a great book for maybe kids that are up to 7 years old or something like that. I really like it. And then there's one that I found really useful called Mr. Hemphill, also from a Maine author, and that would be better for teenagers. And it kind of just exposes people to that, cannabis can be healthy and can be spiritual and so forth.
Cool. Thank you, Dustin, for that. There you are, Janine. How are you doing? I can hear you.
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Do you have a video?
Hold on. That means I have to open my laptop because my big screen doesn't have a camera.
There you are. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Where are you calling in from?
I am currently living in British Columbia.
Wow. Beautiful British Columbia. So you're live with Dustin Sulak.
Nice. I had tried to get on when you first, or at 9 o'clock your time, but did you start late?
Nope, we've been on.
Huh. Okay. Well, I couldn't get on, so I just went and did something else, and I just came back to my computer, and I thought, I'll just see if you guys are still on.
Well, we're on, and your hair looks great. So, what question do you have for Dustin?
Actually, I haven't. I was just going to listen for a while because I take CBD oil as a tincture for. Actually, I have a sativa. THC, and I have a CBD that I take to help me sleep and for back pain. And I have an acupuncturist here in Nelson that prescribes and counsels people on using cannabis for medical reasons. And we have quite a few cannabis dispensaries here in the Valley. So I'm just really interested in it, partially also because I have a podcast. And I had Dr. Michael Smith, who's the doctor I was just telling you about, on. And I would love to have one of you guys on too.
Well, let us know. We'd love to join you up there.
Okay, how would I contact?
Well,
what's the best way?
You can get me at John, John, at UnitedPatientsGroup.com. So John at UnitedPatientsGroup.com.
Got it. It's just taking the right time to write it all down. There we go. Okay.
Just like the website, John at UnitedPatientsGroup.com. And Dustin, if you want to give her yours.
Sure. Great. Just the info at healer.com.
Okay, great. I've been following a lot of, Truth About Vaccines and your cannabis videos. And it's just so great to see all of this being made available for people so easily, and so that because people need to be educated. So I'm really excited that you guys are doing all of this.
Well, we thank you for your support too.
So Dustin, it sounds like you prescribe cannabis quite a bit.
I recommend it, and I guide people on how to use it, but we only prescribe in this country FDA approved drugs, which cannabis is not.
Right. Yes. No, I know. I'm actually, I moved here from Oregon, so.
Okay.
Maybe a question that I would have for you, as long as you're still on for a moment, is I tried CBD oil for pain, and I didn't really find that it did much. And I know it does help people. So I'm wondering if maybe I was taking the wrong strength, the wrong dose. You know, when you take it as a tincture, I know it takes a couple hours because it's got to be processed through the liver. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't seem, it seems to work better topically for me, actually.
Yeah. So CBD, you can take it by mouth and hold it in your mouth, especially if it's a concentrated enough preparation, then you will absorb it through the blood vessels in your mouth, and you should get a little faster onset. CBD is not that effective for pain unless, for a lot of people, they really crank up the dose. And so the beauty of THC and CBD together is that it works well typically at a more affordable dose. If you really want to use just CBD, you may need to be prepared to take 50 milligrams or 100 or 200 per dose, and it gets really expensive.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I was doing about 10. I also find that when I'm taking a tincture, I wake up during the night, I can barely even swallow. My mouth is so dry. It's really disconcerting. So I've been trying to just like for help with sleeping, I've been trying to just take maybe drops just so I don't get so dry. I find that's really, I just don't like that. I feel like I'm just totally dehydrated.
So we covered earlier in the talk tonight some of the drug interactions, but if you're taking any other type of drug that has an anticholinergic effect, could be an allergy medicine, and there's others, antidepressants have these effects, you can look it up. That would enhance the drying effect of cannabis. Most people build tolerance to the dry mouth effect, not entirely, but to a large extent after a couple weeks of regular use. And so if that's not happening for you, I wonder, are you dehydrated, or is there another drug, or maybe that's just your unique constitution? And if so, you may do well with using, like you suggested, a lower dose, putting a humidifier in your room. There's some practical solutions.
Yeah. Is there an interaction with tramadol hydrochloride? Ultram?
Yeah, with tramadol. So tramadol is an opioid drug, and the interaction with tramadol is that it makes it more potent. It makes it feel stronger as far as the pain relief, and I'm specifically talking about THC, not CBD. Okay. And so the THC makes tramadol feel stronger, not any more dangerous, could certainly make someone able to take less of the tramadol. They can go really well together. I'm not aware that combination would enhance dry mouth. It might, though. It certainly might.
So you're saying that the THC will, it has a synergistic effect then with the tramadol?
Yes.
Okay, because I take it for restless legs and I have to take it. Otherwise, when I forget, I'm like a Mexican jumping bean. It's just awful.
I'd be curious, in someone in your situation, what a higher dose of THC and a lower dose of tramadol might do, or what a higher dose of THC and no tramadol might do.
Yeah, I'm willing to try. It's just that when I do, I mean, oftentimes, because I take 1.5 50 milligram of tramadol at night, and sometimes I forget to take it, and it takes about 2 hours for it to really kick in for me. So I have to get up, watch TV, or do something to kind of break the cycle and wait for it to kick in, because I'm just like restless, and I'm kicking and bouncing around, and it's really, really miserable. I've been dealing with this since the 70s. So.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I'll try experimenting with that a little bit. Thank you.
Gotcha. And Janine, we had someone just from Sue. She's like, nice to see another BCer on. Oh, my cousin lives in Nelson rather than Slocum Valley. Sue. Hello to everybody out there. We've had
Yeah, I'm in
UK, New
Slocan
Zealand-
Valley.
Slocan, excuse. Oh, there you go, Slocan Valley. So, you know, I know I promised Dustin 2 hours. We're hitting 2.5 hours. So I appreciate you, Dustin, on this one as well. But I just want to let everybody know that we will be adding this recording to our webpage, so you can listen to this recording. You know, we've had a lot of support, and you know, Dustin, maybe we can get you back on and you know, finish up all these other questions. I can't tell you how many questions we've had that I haven't even addressed. So if you want to email me questions, I will make sure, you know, to pass these over to Dustin as well, and we'll get everyone, try to reach everyone. How about that?
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you,
doing this.
You know, so, but anyway, Janine, it's a pleasure, and I thank you for being with us this evening as well, and supporting. And I want to thank everybody out there who spent the evening with us, who's written in questions, who's raised their hands. And I just want to thank everybody. You know, I'm still receiving a lot of cards, letters, emails, and texts about Corinne, and it means a lot. It really means a lot. And you know, this has been very therapeutic. I'm still devastated and shocked that she's not here, but the love that I'm receiving from all you guys from around the world it really means a lot. So another thing, I mean, I kid you not, I have boxes and boxes of letters, and I will respond to each and every one of you. I promise you that. I'm just trying to survive one day at a time. So don't think I have received it, and I've read each and every one of your letters. I've received books, flowers, teddy bears. So I thank you again. If you can say a special prayer for me and our family, that would be great. Next month, a week from today, it'll be 6 months, and it's just still hard to even understand what really went on. So Christina just wrote in and shared that as well. So God bless all of you. Dustin, love you very much. Love your beautiful wife and family. You guys are special to me and everyone out there, and I'll be seeing you in the East Coast in sooner than we think, a couple weeks, huh?
I really look forward to it, John. Thank you for helping spread this information.
Yeah.
You're helping so many people.
Yeah, thank you. You want to have your closing words?
My closing words, it seems like cannabis has so much to offer, and it really does. I think that's more than anything, you know, we're getting questions, can cannabis help me with this? Can cannabis help me with that? Just a few things that it can't help with. It's really one of the most important medicines in the world, and the most broadly effective, incredibly safe. And so the answer is probably yes. And then the next question is, how do we use it for myself? And it's not, how do I use it for this condition? It's how do I use it for me? Because every individual is unique. And it's an extremely forgiving medicine with some of the right information, which I think you got tonight in the interview that we did that aired a couple days ago, the Sacred Plant series, the healer.com website. This is a solution for a lot of people that they can take into their own hands, plant a seed, go to a dispensary, whatever it takes, grow yourself. You know, I get it that there's a lot of viewers that don't have full access to cannabis, and they're trying to start with things like, you know, CBD that may be isolated from hemp, questions about what brands we can trust. And there's still a lot of problems, but from someone that's been in this for 20 years, as an advocate for cannabis policy reform and for liberating this herb and bringing it back to its proper place in human culture and in medicine, trust me that there's a lot of progress that's been made. I'm very happy with it, and I think there's so many people that have access to it. So those are my closing words, and I also I'm still shocked and feeling the loss vicariously through you, John. And I can distinctly remember some of my last in-person interactions with Corinne. It was a beautiful night out on the patio, and we were having a great time. And I miss her, and I love you, John. I really look forward to seeing you in person, and I'm really proud of you for taking your suffering and transforming it into a force of good for the world. Thank you.
Corinne's with me, and I know she'd want me to do that as well. So look forward to many more good times with you as well. And
Thanks.
God bless everyone. I thank you for your support. Love your family, love your loved ones. Breathe, and breathe body and mood, right, Dustin?
You gotta check in with yourself. You got an incredible vehicle here for this life. Take care of it, love it, and be in touch with it. And thank you guys. Sleep is huge. We're gonna do some of that tonight.
Sleep. Good night. And tell your mom thank you, huh?
All right,
cool,
absolutely.
Thank you very much, and God bless everyone. We'll see you soon. Good night.